During this video tutorial I am going to be explaining how you can create a login system for a web page or a website using PHP and HTML. Because we're not going to be using database software for this, it will only be a single user login system, so there will only be one set of username and password. First of all, we need to start off with the HTML, just the basics. So I'm just going to get that written out here. Okay, so these are just the basic HTML tags, which I'm going to assume you've already come across at some point and you're fairly familiar with. Next, what we're going to need is a form, a login form. Now for this, you're going to need to use the form HTML tag, which is signified by these opening and closing tags. And now you're going to need two different attributes to go along with these tags. The first one is going to be an action. Now, an action is what you want it to do once a submit has been performed. So in this example, what we would like it to do is actually open up our PHP page, which is going to process the information that's been inputted. So I'm going to be calling that PHP page login.php. So we want it to go to login.php. And also we're going to need a method of how the data is going to be passed from this page to our PHP page. Now there's two different methods that you can use. They are post and get. We are actually going to be using the post value, as this is a login system and we are dealing with passwords. We want to try and make it as secure as we can. Now post means the information will be passed in the background, whereas get will be passed through a URL, so you'll actually be able to see what is being passed. So we're going to be using post. Now what we need is our two input fields. Now this example is going to be very basic. It's not going to have any kind of difficult design to it or anything like that. It's just going to be the basics of what you'll actually need. That way you'll be able to input this into any website design is via the input. So we're just going to have a username field. Now this tag is also going to have many different attributes. For starters, we need to give it a name so that we can differentiate this tag between other tags that are within that form. So give it a sensible name. I'm going to give this one the name of username because that's the data that's going to be passed in this field. It's also going to be needing a type, and the type is going to be, in this case, text. Now we're going to also need another input field for the password. So this time we'll do input. I'm going to give it a name of password and a type of also password. And basically what this means is, for this field here, this input field with the text, you're going to have plain text. You'll be able to see exactly what's in the field. For this password field, it's actually going to be hashed text, so you won't be able to see what's being entered. Now we're going to want these on different lines, so I'm just going to put in a simple break line there. Put in another break line here because below we want the submit button. Okay, the way that you would signify a submit button is in a similar way to the other fields. You start off with input. We don't necessarily need to give this a name. I'm going to, just to make it a little bit easier. But I'm going to give this a name of submit, and this we can also give a value. Now value is going to be what is displayed on the button, like the text. So in this case I'm going to be calling it login, and it's also going to be needing, sorry, not a name, it's going to be needing a type, which in this case is submit. You can have a type which is button. The difference is a submit will actually call upon this action and method at the top here, whereas a normal button type will not. It will just be a button basically, and you can use other languages such as JavaScript to perform actions when that button's pressed, but we're not going to go into that at the moment. Okay, so we've got our basic sort of HTML page here. If we just save this as, I'm just going to say this is index.html, and we're going to need a new page as well. Now this page, as I said earlier, is going to be our PHP page. I called this login, so we're going to call this login.php. Now, in a PHP page, you first of all need to start off with the PHP tags, like so. Okay, first of all, what we need to do is see if the actual data has been submitted or not. So we're going to do an if statement. So we're going to say if this name here actually exists. So that means that if this button here has been pressed, so if is set, so if that button's pressed, it will then be set. Post, which is the method that we're using to pass the data, submit. And that's going to basically say if submit is set, then the button has been pressed and we have actually some data to process, and they've not just gone to this page by accident. So we'll do our curly braces, and now I'm going to just have two very simple variables for our data. I'll explain these in just a minute. Okay, so what we're doing is, in PHP, the $sign represents the creation of a variable. So what we're doing is saying get the information that is stored in username that's being passed via the post method, which is actually being stored in this. This is a variable in itself. But we want to basically recall that or put that into another variable which is called username, so we can manage the data easily without having to call this long name all the time. And it's exactly the same with the password as well. Now we're going to do if function, basically, which is going to make sure that the username and password that have been entered are correct. Now, although the password is hashed to the user, you can the PHP page can actually see it as normal text. It's not encrypted in any way, so you can just call it as normal. So we're going to say if the data that's stored in username is equal, and remember 2 equals means compare, 1 equals mean assign. So if username, so compare username, and we're going to call our account admin. So if username is basically equal to admin and password is equal to my password, then echo out, well done, you have logged in successfully. Else, so if the username and password do not equal them 2 values, we want to echo out, sorry, the login information was incorrect. To test this, I'm actually going to need it on a web server with a PHP processor. We can't just run it like a normal HTML page, it does need to be on a server. So I'm just going to transfer that across to my server now, and I will cut to the video when it's actually been transferred over successfully. So here we go. This is the system that we've created. So I'm going to quite simply just try it out. Now what I'm going to do is try it out by putting in test, which we know was not the username. The username was actually admin that was supposed to. That's the correct username. So I'm going to try it with test, and I'm going to put in my password, which was the correct password. But we'll see if it works. Login. Sorry, the login information was incorrect. Now we can do the same the other way around, so we'll do admin and we'll just put hello. Again, incorrect. Now if we leave that as admin and put my password as the correct password, so now both details are correct, we can log in. Well done, you have logged in successfully. That is the basic login system. Now, there is one thing missing from this, and that is the ability to know that a user is logged in and for them to be able to pass between pages while they are still logged in, and that is done by using either cookies or sessions. To create a system using these, please follow the tutorial on thebiggreenapple.co.uk. Thank you.